Chapter 23. As the sun began to set that evening, Imogen and Merrill returned to the second tallest tower. They were not in good spirits. Merrill was 200 crowns poorer, and they were both completely exhausted. Their search through the forests had been unsuccessful. They traveled in the direction that Imogen thought was correct, and they'd seen thousands of trees, but not a single door. Mary was curled up in one of the big seats by the fire. Imogen could see that she'd been crying. "I thought you'd be back last night," said Mary. "I was worried." "So did we," said Imogen, collapsing on the bed. "We spent the night stuck in an inn, and the day searching the forests. Did you get my note?" Imogen looked round for the scrap of paper she'd left by the bed. It had been a hastily scribbled message telling Mary not to leave the tower and that they'd be back soon. Mary glared at the fire, and Imogen understood. She'd burned it. What a baby. "Mary, you know I had to leave you behind. You would have been afraid in the forest." "I would not," said Mary, her voice shrill. "You would too," said Imogen. She removed her cloak and let it fall off the edge of the bed. "Anyway, we didn't find the door. It was a wasted journey." "But it must be there somewhere," said Mary. "Perhaps we should go back and look for it tomorrow." "There's no point," said Merrill. "If Bladenbewitz can't hunt it down, there's no way we'd spot it on our own. It's like the door doesn't want to be found." Over the next few days, Imogen tried everything she could think of to get home. She asked Merrill if she could send her mom a letter. But there was no postal service, and Imogen didn't know how a postman would find the door in the tree. She asked about sending a text, but there were no phones. She'd have had her own if Mom had got her one for her birthday. But Mom was always going on about phones not being good for you. Merrill hadn't even heard of the internet. He said that he didn't believe in magic. The grown-ups Imogen spoke to had never heard of a door in a tree. They didn't believe in magic either. At night, when Imogen was laying in the four-poster bed, her worry creatures began to reappear. They waited until Merrill and Mary had drifted off. Then they'd crawl across the covers and hold Imogen's eyes open. They hissed bad thoughts in her ears. "You'll never make it home. Your mom doesn't even want you back." "What do you expect me to do?" Imogen whispered. "I've tried everything I can." She shook the quilt, throwing the worry creatures to the floor. If she was lucky, they'd creep away after that, slinking off into the darkness. If she was unlucky, it could be hours before they'd let her sleep. In the morning, Imogen would check under the quilt. No worry creatures there. She'd peep behind the curtains. No worry creatures there either. Looking out of the window at the bright blue sky and the cheerful red roofs of Yaroslav, Imogen felt sure that everything would be okay. The worry creatures were wrong. She'd find her way home eventually. In the meantime, why shouldn't she have a little fun? After all, this was a place with no school, no chores, and no bossy grown-ups.